Anyways, okay. So without much further ado, I'm going to bring on our first author. Oh, I should talk about who the authors are and make sure to say hi too, so I can make sure to see that. Like right now, I don't have any comments, which is bizarre by this stage. So make sure you give us a comment so we know that you're there, and it just gives us the love, you know. So yeah. So we've got. I should go over all the authors that we have. We have J.N. Curtis. We have who's coming up first, and then Adam Gaffin, and then Heather Carson. So it's just a great lineup. So let me go ahead and bring on our first author to talk to, and this is J.N. Curtis. Here we go. Hi, how's
Hi,
it going?
it's going
Hi,
great. I'm so excited
how
to
are
be here.
you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what? Where are you from? Where are you in the States? Are you? Yeah.
Yeah, I live in Henderson, Nevada, so
Okay.
it's nice and sunny out right now. Really like the nice weather.
That's nice. It's probably a little bit cooler than where I am in Florida, just a smidgen. I don't know. Just
Probably,
thinking.
yeah. I probably, yeah. And definitely not
Yeah.
as humid. So,
Yeah. Okay. So let's just dive right into it. So you write, what genre would you say that you write?
I write fantasy romance, usually new adult fantasy romance. It's kind of the area that I write in.
Okay. Okay. Is it set like in our modern world, would you say, or is it more like a different world since it's fantasy romance
Yeah, it's more
or
second world or high fantasy romance.
okay.
So, yeah, I used to write urban fantasy, but that was more like YA, and so now I have switched over, and so it's more high fantasy that I kind of stick to.
Okay. And so do you have so for your romance, is it steamy or are you fade to black? Are you clean romance? Where
Yeah,
do
it's
you reside?
spicy romance. So there's
Okay.
usually right now I'm working on fairy tale retellings, and so they're kind of shorter novels. There's 2 to 3 spicy scenes usually in the books. I felt like when I switched over and started writing fantasy romance that I wanted to write like full relationships, right? And so if I'm writing a romantic relationship, it's going to include, the spicy aspects of a relationship. So,
Right. Okay. So what I try to do before all of these spotlights is read a sample of the books of the authors that are on the spotlight, right? Because what we do for these spotlights is I allow any authors in the group a chance to come on here, and so it doesn't mean I've always read them. And so I did try yours, and I'm actually really enjoying it. It's so let's talk about the book. Let's talk about the
yeah.
book. It's a Swan Lake retelling, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's Of Curses and Moonlight. I can hold it a little closer, you can see it.
That's you.
um and the series is called The Villain's Kiss. So this is the first book in the Villain's Kiss series. So it's like a twisted fairy tale retelling where the traditional hero ends up getting with the traditional villain in the story.
Awesome. And would you consider it dark or not since it's
It's
twisted a
definitely
little bit?
darker and more adult. I mean, it is, spicy, but it is yeah, it is darker. I wouldn't say it's like super dark, but it does have darker elements to it for sure.
Okay, cool. Actually, someone's on the chat right now saying that they love Swan Lake and they love the cover. I do think the cover is gorgeous. I love the blue on the
Yes.
cover for sure.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, let's look at it again.
Yeah. It's beautiful. My
It's
cover
beautiful.
designer is amazing. Blue Raven book covers, she does an amazing job. So,
Okay, okay, so that's awesome. I'm glad you gave her a shout out too, because
yeah.
cover artists are they're gem, aren't they? Like they
Yes,
just do so
she's
much. The
amazing.
cover does so much for
Yes.
authors. So okay, so when I started reading it, I noticed that you write third person.
Yes, I do. Which is actually kind of a switch for me. When I wrote my YA, it was all in first person. And then when
Okay.
I decided to write fantasy romance, I decided to switch to third person, mainly because I have like multiple point of views. So I felt like it would work better in my stories.
Yeah, okay. So that's what was going to be my next question is why did you choose to start writing third person? Is it also because I have noticed that a lot of romance fantasies do have third person writing, you know, like Sarah J. Maas, she writes in third person,
Yes.
you know, a lot of them do. So did that play a factor at all? Or is it just because of all the different point of views?
Yeah, well, the point of view has definitely played a factor, and I just think I do know a little bit about like publishing research. Publishing research show that people tend to like third person a little bit better than first person. That's not for everyone,
Really?
obviously,
Yeah.
but yeah, some people just in general, third person is more accepted than first person. So
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I didn't know that. So, so what I can say, I don't usually gravitate towards third person. I gravitate towards first person. But what I actually really liked about this when I was reading it, the sample, is it's really easy to like you forget that you're reading third person. Like you've written it very, very, very well. Like a lot of times where I
Thanks.
struggle with third person, and my friends that do too, that are more first person people, it's because when you start reading it, like you're constantly reminded that someone's narrating it to you.
Okay, yeah,
And for you, I didn't feel that way. I absolutely loved it.
nice.
I just thought like I totally forgot. I was actually, it was like, I think it was like maybe like 20-30% into the sample where I was like, I'm reading third person. I didn't realize I was reading third person. I'm reading third person. This is great. So that's definitely a skill, I think.
Yeah,
Honestly.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad that you could get, so lost in it, you don't really realize what viewpoint you're actually reading from, so that's cool. I mean, like, 3rd or 1st, basically, yeah.
Yeah, but you still have chapters where the front of the top of the chapter is someone's name, because I guess
Right.
you're getting their perspective. They're part of the
Yes.
story, even though it's in third person.
Yes, so
Yeah,
it's in
so you
3rd
like know where
person,
we
but
are.
it's very, yeah, close 3rd person, so I'm writing from a specific person's viewpoint in 3rd person, yeah.
Okay, cool. And how did you start writing? Like, why did you start? Just
I've always enjoyed writing, so it was something I really enjoyed. When I started having kids, I was like, I had a lot of time on my hands 'cause my kids were really young, and so I was staying home and taking care of them. And I was like, I need something that's not going to drive me crazy. And so I started looking into writing. I took a writing class at the community college online, and so that really helped to give me a structure for writing. And so then I was like, I'm going to take the story that I'm writing, and I'm going to go as far as I can with it. And so I kept going and ended up publishing it in 2020 was when I published my first book. And I really enjoyed it. And so since then, I've just kept going.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really so let's tell us about like Swan Lake, the actual, so it's obviously not called Swan Lake, it's Curses of Moonlight, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So tell us like where the idea came from, and tell us a little bit too about like what it's a sorry, I'm like stumbling. What is about?
That's
I'm
okay.
stuttering today, sorry.
That's all
Like
right.
what is it about? So people, but you don't want to give us spoilers, so be careful because we
Right.
want people to go pick it up and read it, right?
For sure. Yeah.
So yeah.
Sure. I wanted to do fairy tale retellings. I felt like people, really love fairy tale retellings, and I felt like I wanted to write one where, like I said, the traditional hero and the traditional villain end up falling in love, and so most of these are going to be like enemies to lovers kind of stories, and so I love writing enemies to lovers. So
I
I
love
wanted to write that journey. So basically, Odette and Rothbard are my two main characters that are going to end up together. He has her under the swan curse, and so she's trying to find a way to break this curse to get out of it. And through that journey that they're kind of tied together in this curse is, kind of how they end up coming together.
And that's not the traditional Swan Lake story, right?
No.
He's the villain in the traditional
Yes.
Swan Lake story.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Rothbard's the
she ends up with the
traditional.
prince,
Yes.
right?
Yes. And there is
Yeah.
a prince in the story, but they don't end up together. So.
And it's also interesting too, I thought, because Odette is she's an assassin
Yes.
before she gets cursed.
Yes. So I wanted, like, I knew he was going to, like, curse. I wanted to keep the swan curse and everything like that. But I also wanted to, I guess, not make Rothbart like completely unlikable. I wanted to give him a good reason, to have her under the
Oh, it's
swan
a good
curse.
reason.
Yeah. And so
I was actually thinking as I was reading, I was thinking how, because I'm thinking, okay, this has got to be the main dude, right? Like, it's got to be a twist from the actual story. This has got to be the main guy. I'm like, how in the world is he ever going to forgive, like, the start of the enemies to lovers? So
right,
obviously,
right.
I haven't got there yet because I'm reading the sample. So for today, but that sounds like that probably is a challenge to get it to pan out. I would
For
say,
sure, for sure. Yeah,
yeah.
I definitely wanted, even though like Rothbard has like a good reason to have her under the swan curse, I still wanted to keep the relationship, complicated so they could have a good relationship arc throughout the story. So yeah, working through her being an assassin who is part of a group that goes and actually ends up, like killing his parents, is part of what he's working through with her. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, we have about a minute left, actually a little bit under. What about the other books that you have? How many other books do you have out there, or are they the same? I know you said YA. But in the fantasy romance world, well, why is it okay too to talk about? But
Yeah.
just real quick.
No, I have a couple of other books. I have actually have them here with me. So I have this Peter Pan retelling, which is also an enemies to lovers, an aged up Wendy ended up falling for, Captain Hook. And it's actually not out yet. It comes out on May 8th, so next month.
Okay, cool.
And that's coming out, so I'm really excited about that. And then I also have A Dark and Lovely Devastation. This was actually my first fantasy romance that I wrote, so this is a bit longer than the shorter fairy tale retellings, and definitely a fun journey. So those are some of the books I have out. I have a Little Mermaid one that's going to be coming out later this year that's also in the same series. Oh, and
Okay.
I forgot to say it, and I want to say really fast
Okay.
that
Okay. Sorry.
Of Curses and Moonlight is actually free today through Sunday, um,
Yay.
because tomorrow is Fairy Tale Bub, so it's like a download your on your Kindle kind of day, and so I'm part of like a group of fairy tale retellings that are going to be free tomorrow. If people want to see more fairy tale retellings by other authors, you can just go to like my Instagram or my Facebook on J.A. Curtis Books, and I'll have the information posted there tomorrow.
Okay. That sounds great. That sounds awesome. Thank you for coming on. We were trying to keep it just to 10 minutes because, well, we just were trying to. But
Yeah,
thank you so much for coming on. Guys, stay tuned because we're going to have a panel at the end and we're going to bring Jenny back. So
awesome. Thank you so
thank you
much,
so much.
Rebecca.
Okay, no problem. Okay. All right. Give me a second.